Good morning, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and the world. Rise and shine, everyone. It's a beautiful Thursday morning here in Central Jakarta. It is the 17th of October, 2024. My name is Paul Palali, greeting you bright and early here at 6 a.m. as we always do from the C Today News Studios, where we broadcast live for the next 3 hours for today's edition of the C Morning Show, where we're going to cover plenty of world news, including updates from right here in Indonesia. And it is a weekday morning, so we're going to have your daily sports, entertainment, and business roundups, and not one but two talk shows coming your way. One is entertainment related and one is medically related. We'll talk about all of that in a minute because we have the squad joining us, so let's not waste any more time and say hello to Karina and Caroline. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning.
How are you? How are you guys?
Good, good.
Can you just imagine this month we're actually 4 years together?
4 years.
On air.
That's
right. I love that.
And we used to be the OG Monday Friday squad.
We were back then in that you had pictures when we were still in our old studio.
In the old studio. Wow, time flies, guys.
Yeah, we were wearing masks back then.
And the face shields.
Face shields,
We did not know what each other looked like, but glad you could see our smiling faces in the morning.
All right, so good morning to all of you. My name is Caroline Ahmed. Of course, as Paul mentioned, we do have two talk shows. Paul was correct. One is medical related and one is also entertainment. For the medical related, we know that our voice and our opinions matters. But what is going to happen if, let's say, your voice can't come out from you? So we're going to talk about functional dysphonia that could affect your vocal cords. And then we will have Karina and also Paul that will be leading for Jakarta Movie Week 2024. That's interesting. Right. So before all of that jazz, please do connect with us on our social media at C Today News on Instagram, X, and also YouTube. So Karina, what Indonesian movie that you've been watching this year? I mean, you've been very busy this year.
There are a lot of movies, but I feel like, I was just going to say, Carol, I'm most excited to hear you guys' talk show because I'm about to lose my voice. So I'd love some tips on how to not lose my voice during these busy days.
That's right.
We have lots in store.
Warm water and lemon.
Yes.
That's what I heard.
That's what they say.
You're right.
Well, I'll give it a try right after this. And yes, good morning to you folks at home. I'm your host, Karina Bestrewan. I'd like to now greet our viewers who are able to tune in from Fox Hills/Australia. And if you're in Macau, cable TV channel 84. If you're in the Philippines, channel 58, Air Cable Philippines. And in Singapore, Singtel Singapore, channel 15, and StarHub, channel 720. All right, guys, we do have a jam-packed show this Thursday a.m., so let us start with our headlines. Paul, take it away.
Thanks, Karina. Our top story comes from the Middle East, where Israeli strikes have killed at least 15 people in Qana, a southern Lebanese town historically linked to civilian casualties during conflicts with Hezbollah.
In the Gaza region, hundreds of mourners gathered on Tuesday for the funeral of a 17-year-old shot dead in the northern occupied West Bank.
From Indonesia, President-elect Prabowo Subianto briefed minister nominees at his Hambalang residence on Wednesday.
And Indonesia has secured more spots in the round of 16 at the 2024 Denmark Open, with Jonathan Christie and Putri Kusuma Wardani advancing in both the men's and women's singles. That's coming up in your sports segment later on this morning.
Oh, finally we got a W right there.
Yeah, not bad at all. I think our badminton contingents are doing quite well lately.
Right.
We'll get to that in our third segment, but meanwhile here in our first block, we do have some world news to kick things off. We'll circle back to one of our headlines from earlier, where hundreds of mourners gathered on Tuesday for the funeral of a 17-year-old boy who was shot dead in the northern occupied West Bank.
The Palestinian Health Ministry said Israeli forces shot Ryan al-Sayed and another Palestinian in northern West Bank city of Jenin on Monday during an army raid.
According to Wafa, the official Palestinian news agency, 4 others were injured by Israeli fire during the raid. Attacks has flared in the West Bank since the Israel-Hamas war erupted 12 months ago.
According to Palestinian Health Ministry data, over 750 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire in the territory since the war had begun. The northern West Bank, including Jenin and Tul Karim, has seen some of the worst violence.
ريان كانوا لما فاتوا الجيش نزل على البلد، كانوا كل الشباب متجمعين يعني ومتى براجدوا على الجيش زي هيك. ريان كان من ضمنهم يعني، وريان كان من أشرس الناس وقلبه قوي يعني، كان راجد معهم. أجوا نادوا عليه شباب قالوا له ارجع عشان الجيب فتح عليه الطاقة. أجا ريان ما ردش ضل راجد، أجا طخ عليه.
The top UN humanitarian official is accusing Israel of blocking the delivery of desperate.
Acting humanitarian chief Joyce Msuya told an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council on Wednesday that no food has entered northern Gaza from October the 2nd to the 15th, when a trickle was allowed in.
Throughout Gaza, Msuya said less than one-third of the 286 humanitarian mission coordinated with Israel authorities in the first 2 weeks of October were facilitated without major incidents or delays.
The level of suffering in Gaza defies our ability to capture it in words or even to comprehend its scale. Reality is brutal in Gaza, and it gets worse every day as the bombs continue to fall, as fierce fighting continues unabated, and as supplies essential for people's survival and humanitarian assistance are blocked at every turn. International humanitarian law must be respected, and this Council and all member states must exert all their influence to ensure it. Given the abject conditions and intolerable suffering in northern Gaza, the fact that humanitarian access is nearly non-existent is unquestionable. During the first 2 weeks of October, just 1 out of 54 coordinated movements to the north via the Al-Rashid checkpoint was facilitated by Israeli authorities, while another 4 were impeded but eventually accomplished. 85% of the movements were denied, and the rest were impeded or cancelled due to security or logistical issues.
All right, so we heard Ms. Msuya talking about the dire food situation. There was a trickle allowed in, but all essential supplies in the region for survival are running out. Not just food, but we're also talking about medical supplies, yes, as well as fuel. And a couple of those are somewhat related. Now, she did stress that distributions of existing food supplies, no matter how little they are, need to continue, but they are dwindling fast. Now, she said that in Gaza City, more than 110,000 meals are distributed each day by at least 10 kitchens, including to support the influx of people. More are coming in displaced from North Gaza Governorate. Meanwhile, between 11th and 13th of October, UN partners in North Gaza Governorate distributed more than 1,500 food parcels and 1,500 bags of wheat flour to those that were displaced, trapped, or sheltering in and near schools in Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia. She warned, however, now that there's barely any food left to distribute. Most bakeries were forced to shut down, not just because they're lacking flour, but also without any additional fuel, which they do need to run. These, you have to understand, most of them are without electricity, so they have to run things off of power generators, and those, unfortunately, need fuel to run as well. So without electricity, without fuel, without food and supplies, plus medical supplies as well, the situation is getting dire fast. Now, meanwhile, it's not just in Gaza, but over in Lebanon, the situation continues to worsen as well, as Israeli strikes have killed at least 15 people in the southern Lebanese town of Qana, which has long been associated with civilian deaths after Israeli strikes during previous conflicts with Hezbollah.
There was no immediate comment from the Israeli military on the strikes in Qana late of Tuesday.
Lebanon Civil Defense said 15 bodies had been recovered from the rubble of a building and that rescue efforts were still underway. A video obtained by the Associated Press on Wednesday showed a massive destruction in the town following last night's strikes. Well, right now, furthermore, the Lebanese Health Ministry also said that Israeli strikes across the country have killed 27 people, injured 185 over the last 24 hours. So this really escalated rapidly, very fast. Now, the ministry said 2,377 people have been killed, where 11,109 wounded since the current round fighting between Hezbollah and Israel had begun last year. Now, with the vast majority that death taking place in the last few weeks. We also know now that, the past few days and also last week where the UNIFIL has been attacked by Israel. Now also One of an attack that is targeted is another UN position in the southern Lebanon yesterday. This is in the Lebanese village of Kfar Kila that was struck by an Israeli Merkava tank. And there was a statement by UNIFIL saying that yet again we see direct and apparently deliberate fire at the UNIFIL position. So if they were saying, the Israeli military was saying before that this was not aiming towards them, now we can know that, and we can evidently say they are one of the targets because they want this UNIFIL peace troopers to take out from their position. And now, furthermore, dozens of mourners attended a mass funeral on Wednesday in the northern of the Lebanon region for displaced people who were killed in an Israeli airstrike earlier this week.
And 9 of the 22 people killed in the attack on the Christian village of Aito in northern Lebanon were buried at a cemetery in Babush.
Coffins that are draped with Lebanese flags were carried on the shoulders of mourners chanting death to Israel and death to the USA.
On Monday, an Israeli airstrike hit an apartment building in northern Lebanon, killing at least 22 people. And Israel said it was targeting a Hezbollah facility, but the United Nations on Tuesday called for an independent investigation.
The 3-story building had been rented by the Hijazi family who had fled their home in the southern village of Aitarun.
Ali Hijazi, the deputy mayor of Aitarun, said the deceased were seeking safety in this area in the North Province, which is not posing any sort of threat in this battle between Lebanon and the Israeli enemy.
الشعب اللبناني شعب تعرض ولا زال يتعرض لظلم كبير. اليوم نحن بنعيش مأساة لبنانية كبرى بفقد مجموعة كبيرة من النساء والأطفال والمسنين الذين طلبوا الأمان في منطقة الشمال. هذه المنطقة اللي لا تشكل تهديد لأي بهالمعركة الموجودة بين لبنان والعدو الإسرائيلي.
All right, we're going to take you here to Indonesia for some local updates as President-elect Prabowo Subianto briefed his ministerial nominees at his Hambalang residence on Wednesday.
The briefing focused on several topics such as geopolitics and also economy.
On Wednesday, the President-elect Prabowo Subianto briefed ministers' nominees at his residence in Hambalang, Bogor Regency. Vice President-elect Gibran Rakabuming Raka was also present during the briefing. The briefing touched on several topics, including geopolitics and economy.
Semuanya sama, jadi semua secara seksama mengikuti apa yang menjadi arahan dan mengikuti secara seksama dari semua kepala ini.
Penekanannya Pak Presiden terpilih, kita akan harus waspada pangan 5 tahun mendatang.
Semua diundang dan diberikan arahan dan juga penjelasan dari Bapak Presiden terpilih kita, Bapak Subianto di Hambalang.
Ayo suruh dikit.
Memberikan gambaran tentang situasi dunia, termasuk tantangan geopolitik, geoekonomi, dan juga semua dampak terhadap Indonesia, terhadap kawasan kita juga. Dari ekonomi tentunya, politik, keamanan, pertahanan, dan lain sebagainya.
Some candidates are current ministers in President Joko Widodo's cabinet, yet no details regarding whether they will continue their role or take a new position. The rest are made up of experts in various fields and members of political parties. National Police Chief General Listio Sigit Prabowo and National Armed Forces Commander General Agus Subianto also attended the meeting. Another briefing will take place on Thursday. Handira Putri and Nico Arianto for C-Today.
Now, as we can see, almost all of the